Welcome to Red V TV, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2024 season, as we continue our build-up to the 2024 Super League campaign. And Kevin, with 5 days to go, it can only mean one thing.
It's time for our number 5, and that is Jonathan Bennison. And John is sponsored by Sixon Managed WordPress Hosting.
Sixon managed WordPress hosting are for websites that exceed expectation, and they help businesses effectively manage and grow their online presence by leveraging the capabilities of the WordPress platform.
Excellent.
Good business to be into these days.
Yeah.
All the best platforms hosted on WordPress. Red V, Saints official website. The world is your oyster.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
Is the world their oyster for Jonathan Bennison with the number 5 jersey this season?
Listen, he's got the starting jersey there, hasn't he? He has got the starting jersey. And I was just having a look. He made 20 appearances last year, which is a good whack. And I like this lad's attitude. I really do. He'll get his chances on the wing. And I'm sure that Sixon will hear their name round the Totally Wicked when a try has been scored by John this year.
Now, we spoke a couple of weeks ago when we were discussing T. Ritson, and I advocated for T. Ritson to be given a run of games. But does it appear that John remains ahead of him in the pecking order if you are basing it off the Salford friendly pre-season lineup?
Not only did you say that, you pinned your hat on T. Ritson starting on the wing, and you said, mark it down now that T. Ritson would start the London game. I watched it back as I was doing some ironing earlier. Rock and roll on a Sunday. It seems like he is the man kind of, he's got the hold on the position over T at the moment. I think that is fair to say based on the lineup for the pre-season trial games. I think they are an idea of where you think Paul Wellens is thinking. Whether John starts on that left wing, I'm not entirely sure, because I don't know whether it might be a case of we get, and we'll speak about him in a couple of days, Wonga Blake, game time and get him up to speed by playing him out wide left with Percy on his inside. But just to answer that very basic question, I do think Bennison seems to be ahead of Ritson in the standings at the moment.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it a little bit of an embarrassment of riches for Paul Wellens? Obviously, because if Mark Percival is back to full fitness for the start of the season, and you want to bring him into the team, you've got obviously Conrad Harrell for one centre-back, Percy for the other. So Wonga Blake is potentially competing either to play at centre or that wing spot that John Bennison and T. Ritson are also competing for.
Yeah, you know what, it's a good place to be, I think. You don't want to be chopping and changing too much, but you have got that kind of that flexibility. And that's perfect for us. Gone are the days where you would have the same 13 running out every single week, or the same 17, and you might see one or two changes here and there, because you do get a lot more suspensions. You do get a lot more impact injuries. It just happens. So it is really good to have the flexibility. And as it says on the Saints website, John's down as a fullback and a winger. I think he said himself that he's not going to displace the England fullback, is he? But if he can get game time and he can get he can keep that maintaining them performance levels and keep improving and improving and improving, then he'll get picked in the team. I think it's always been said that this lad's work ethic is tremendous, and that's why he got his shot. And that's what some of the younger lads need to make sure that they're emulating to get their chance.
I think I've said previously that I always look at John Bennison as a bit of an old school traditional fullback. So if he'd have come through 20, 25 years ago, when you wanted your fullback to be sound defensively, safe under the high ball. John Bennison would have been the perfect specimen for that role. I'm thinking of the likes of Paul Welland, Chris Radlinski, that type of figure in the past. Unfortunately, I think the position has developed a little bit where you expect your fullback to be part of one of your pivots and come into the attacking line. Can John Bennison do that? I don't think we've seen enough of him at fullback to be able to make that judgment. But is it almost that door has pretty much been shut by Jack Wellsby signing that new deal that keeps him at the club for the next 4 years? Potentially, Lewis Dodd has that 2-year extension, and obviously Johnny Lomax has 3 years. Those positions, with the best will in the world, are essentially sewn up.
Yeah, I think with regards to them key positions, as you say, barring injury, you're not going to see John Bennison have a big run of games at fullback, barring an injury and a big injury in a couple. And I even think with the halves, we're more likely to see Moses drop into 6 or 7, and have and keep Jack Wellsby at 1. I think that seems to be more the case. As you say, it'd be completely unfair on the lad if we wrote him off as a fullback for Saints, because I don't think we've seen enough. And I know there's quite a bit of clamour to see him at fullback, or there was last year, to see him at fullback and Jack pushed into the halves. Again, I think that's a little bit unfair, because if he came into fullback and couldn't do what Jack Wellsby did, you'd be saying, well, hang on a minute, why are we playing him there? We need to change it back. I think a little bit of knee-jerk reaction needs to be kind of tempered. I think I've used that phrase quite a bit. I think I used it quite a bit in the T. Ritson one as well. But this is a kid with good attitude, and he doesn't want to be sat on the sidelines. He's got that number 5 shirt. He'll be looking to play as many games as he can on that left wing.
Absolutely. 6 tries in 18 in 2022, 7 tries in 20 in 2023. So essentially 1 in 3. In a team that last season, has to be said, wasn't the most free-flowing in attack. If he does get his chance this season, he'll be looking to improve on them numbers a little bit. In terms of appearances, if he gets close to 20 games again, I think he'll have done really well.
Yeah, and I think we spoke about the possible being able to drop players in and out as and when you need to. He can play on either wing, so we mentioned about possibly Tommy getting a bit of a break, or if we need someone in the centres, obviously Blake can come in if he's been playing out wide. Then you've got a couple of places that you can say, well, you know what, Tom, we're going to give you a week off. You don't have to go to London away. We're not going to put you in for that, because we're going to play T. Ritson and John Bennison as our wingers that day. And you can do that. He will get plenty of appearances, I think, just because of the way that the game is now governed with regards to head knocks, rightly so, disciplinary. You argue either way on that one. But he thinks that he's improved as a player from the season before, and there is still lots of improvement to make. And as I say, and I keep going back to it, I think if a lot of players had the same attitude as the likes of John Bennison, as the likes of Sam Royal, had that attitude and professionalism, then they'd be in a lot better position. That's not aimed at Saints players, that's just aimed across the board. If you've got that as a young kid, about being patient, about working hard and taking your opportunity when it comes, then rugby league would be in a much better position.
I'm glad you mentioned Tommy Makinson there. Obviously, with Tommy's future up in the air at the moment for 2025 onwards, is John Bennison's job this season to be able to put a show in and a shift in, just to demonstrate that, do you know what, next season, if Tommy Makinson doesn't happen to be at the club, that Saints don't need to go into the market necessarily to get a winger, obviously, with John Bennison under contract until the end of 2025.
Yeah, probably so. It is kind of it's an aim for him to make sure that he's he's in and about that 17-man squad, and B, to show Saints that they don't have to go and make a signing. I know people say, "Wow, we need a quick winger and we want pace in that back line." And with all due respect to John, you're not going to get that blistering pace of someone else who's worn the number 5 shirt when you look at the likes of Regan Grace and players further back in time. But yeah, if that's his aim this year, and that's what he thinks that he needs to do, then fair play, because all players at some point are going to leave the club, whether that's when they retire, whether it's when they get a contract offer that is better from another club, whether it's just the seen as surplus to requirements. He's got to make sure that he's still in that kind of discussion about playing one of them wing spots. I'm sure he will be. I'm sure he'll get plenty of chances this year.
Yeah. I have reservations. I think he's a really good squad player. Do I think he is the right answer long term for our starting wing berth? For me, the jury is still out. I remain to be convinced. I hope I'm wrong. Well, I don't hope I'm wrong because I don't know whether I am. I don't know what I'm actually saying. I'm waiting and seeing. Yeah, I think it's fair to say there's a lot still to prove.
There is. I mean, the lad is obviously a very good professional, and he has got ability. I mean, there's rumours that Matt Duffy's still walking around the Totally Wicked looking for where he can buy a cup of tea after that double. So he has got ability. And if he keeps moving, if he keeps that improvement going on, then this doesn't become a conversation. This becomes a John Bennison has to play in the team. He just needs to continue to improve. And as a young lad, he's got that in him.
At a very basic level, Kevin, the success of St Helens is the sum of its parts. And the fact that John Bennison is in and around the squad can only be good for the club.
Yeah, I think so. I think back to there's a couple of games he got sin-binned as well, didn't he? And I remember seeing him after the game, and he looked gutted. The lad looked absolutely distraught. And I was thinking at the time, took one for the team though. Well done, lad. Like when it happened, yeah, he dragged somebody back. I know that, but that against Warrington as well. And you had Warrington fans saying, "Oh, should that be a penalty try?" What, 40 metres from the try line?
Yes, it was a Warrington. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, there's stretching it, and there's stretching it. Yeah, and I remember seeing him after the game, and a little bit me wanted to go over to him and say, "John, you did the right thing there, mate." Does it? It can be seen as cynical, but you've done the right thing. We've ended up winning the game.
I think you said that on the fan reaction, didn't you? I'm pretty sure you did. Somebody
probably
dig it out.
Yeah, but as you say, it's all about the sum of the parts. If he's the right player for that position, and possibly when you've got wet, windy, cold weather, you need someone who is safe under the high ball. He is that. Whether he will start when we get to the London game, we'll discuss obviously in time, in a couple of days' time. We'll see what the 21 says, and we'll pick the bones out of that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Okay, we will move on, Kevin. Game week coming up. Excited.
Yes, very much so.
Right. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you tomorrow for another of our player previews.